Hey everyone, Angie back for another Barista Basics video. I hope that you guys are doing well. As you can tell from today's title, we are going to be discussing uniforms in the workplace. And so basically my plan for this video is to talk about what exactly uniforms are and also talk about dress codes because these two ideas are sometimes conflated, really because dress code is a part of a uniform. So we're going to talk about dress codes first and then talk about what separates a uniform from a dress code. We're also going to discuss the purpose of uniforms, and as well, at the end of the video, I plan on discussing, or rather questioning, I guess, and sort of opening up for discussion the importance of uniforms in the workplace and whether or not they are necessarily, as crucial, as pivotal, as necessary as some people lead them on to believe. So, yeah, that's my plan. Let's see how long it takes me to get through all this. So to start, I am going to talk about dress code because, like I said, this is sometimes conflated with the idea of uniforms. And again, they're very similar because dress code is sort of incorporated into the concept of a uniform, but they're not one and the same. So a dress code is essentially a standard of dressing. Usually this refers to certain color palettes that you're allowed to wear. Honestly, usually that's what a dress code sort of encompasses is certain colors are permitted and some are not. But other examples of this could also be certain types of clothing. For example, if you work in an office and they allow you to wear, polos, like collared polo shirts, or you may have to wear like, a long sleeve, totally button down shirt with a collar. Some places you may have to wear like a blazer or a jacket, whatever. These are also part of dress code, which again, like I said, is essentially a standard of dressing. So of course, let's use Starbucks as an example. Let's just use Starbucks as an example. So Starbucks's dress code allows for, they're not really too strict on certain types of clothing. You're not really allowed to wear jeans or, like leggings, for example, or sweatpants, of course. But, you have pretty much free reign with everything else as long as it stays within a certain color palette. So, you can choose to wear khakis, or you could wear black slacks, or if you have gray slacks. Even if you had navy sort of dress pants or slacks, you could wear those as well. And then regarding the shirt, as long as it falls into the same kind of color palette, then it also works. You can wear a white shirt, black, tan, gray, or a navy shirt. And again, there isn't any sort of specification regarding what type of shirt it is. It can be a collared shirt, it could be a button-down shirt, it could be a t-shirt, for example, even. Now, also something I should mention that is a part of dress code is, along with having a certain color palette, there also may be some places that don't allow certain types of patterns. And this is I'll discuss this more when I talk about the purpose of uniforms and dress code. But, for example, at Starbucks, you're not allowed to wear really sort of, how do you say, I guess like loud patterns, like patterns that are very easily noticeable. And like I said, we'll get into why a bit later, but that's also a part of Starbucks' dress code. So again, that's an example of a dress code. Now I will talk about Starbucks' uniform, and this will help illustrate kind of the difference between the two. So Starbucks' uniform basically just encompasses the green apron, or during the holidays, the red apron, which you're also allowed to wear. So the apron included encompasses the uniform. And so we can kind of see what distinguishes the dress code from the uniform. The uniform is not necessarily just a standard of dressing, but also sort of the accessories, if you will, that you need to have as a part of the uniform as well. Another example would be at the old Starbucks I used to work at in South Carolina, a Starbucks hat was also a part of the uniform. You had to wear a hat at all times. At the Starbucks that I work at currently, you don't have to, but a part of the uniform is having your hair up. So obviously in South Carolina, you would have to tie your hair up and then, stick it through the end of the hat, where in New Jersey, at least at the Starbucks that I work at, you don't have to wear the hat, but your hair still needs to be tied up. So yeah, basically a dress code is a standard of dressing, and a uniform is sort of everything included in it. If there are other sort of accessories that you need. For example, the apron, you also need to have your name badge on at all times. That would be a part of your uniform, not necessarily the dress code. I guess actually you could think of the dress code as sort of like the regular clothing that you're wearing, just shirt, pants, whatever, shoes. And you can think of the uniform as anything that goes on over it. So another example would be at the restaurant I work at, our dress code is, it's a lot more strict there. It's black slacks with black sneakers, or black non-slip shoes, and then a white button down with a bow tie. So, well, actually the bow tie would be a part of the uniform. But along with, sort of the regular clothes that you have to wear, again, the bow tie, which is an accessory, I guess I should also say that uniforms aren't necessarily as, there's a bit of leeway with uniforms as well. So again, relating to the restaurant example, a part of the uniform can be using a server apron, a black server apron to, wear to carry like your server book around and your pens around and stuff. But that's not necessarily, like, you don't have to wear it. Nobody at the restaurant that I work at will make you wear a server apron, but you are allowed to. It can be a part of the uniform, but it doesn't have to be. So yeah, that was a really long-winded answer. I only touched on one point, and we're almost 10 minutes in. Again, I can talk for days, I guess. But yeah, so that's the difference between dress code and uniform. Those were also some examples of a dress code versus a uniform in two different kinds of workplaces. Now, so that's what I wanted to touch on first, what uniforms are, what distinguishes them from dress codes. Again, so you can see how these ideas kind of get conflated because they're very similar, but there's these kind of subtle differences between the two. Now, the next point I wanted to touch on is the purpose of uniforms, and by extension, the purpose of dress code as well. So, the purpose of a uniform is, of course, as the name implies, to have uniformity amongst the people who work at whatever workplace it is. So, this is kind of less important, for example, at like a Starbucks, for example, because usually the stores are pretty small, and the baristas, most times, you will find them behind the bar. So, if they're behind the bar, they're a barista, and if they're not, they're probably not a barista. But, for example, uniforms play more of an important role in, for example, say like a Walmart or a Target, any sort of grocery store, just, any sort of big retail store. Uniforms are very important because it allows customers to very easily distinguish, somebody who can help them with an inquiry versus, just another customer like them. Also, uniforms play an important role. For example, going back to the restaurant that I work at, different roles have different uniform requirements, different dress code requirements even. So, for example, the servers, which I am, have to wear what I described previously. Bartenders have a very similar uniform, but instead of a black bow tie, they have to wear a black, regular tie. And back of house staff are, they're allowed to wear khakis with a black shirt that has the restaurant logo on it. and management have a bit more free reign with what they can wear, as long as it stays, again, within a certain kind of color palette, stays within the dress code. I don't know why I forgot my original point. Oh, so why uniforms aren't the purpose of them. So for example, in the restaurant, since these different roles have different uniforms and slightly different dress codes, that makes it very easily distinguishable, these roles. So, somebody, a customer walking by, or, a customer at a table knows, okay, this is a server, this is a food runner, or this is a busser, for example, or this is a manager, this is the bartender. Again, these are sort of unconscious, kind of subconscious things, because most people aren't, looking around taking notes like, okay, so the servers wear this, the bartenders wear this, but this is different, it's just kind of a subconscious thing that helps them distinguish these roles. Yeah, and so that's sort of the purpose of uniforms. And then also, another piece of information I wanted to include in this little segment is sort of the purpose of dress codes, which again goes hand in hand with the purpose of uniforms, to distinguish, basically work staff from customers. But relating to Starbucks, specifically, Starbucks has the color palette that I mentioned previously, because they want the apron, the green apron, sort of the standout aspect of Starbucks. You think of the green apron, the green straws, green, the siren. They want you to wear sort of more muted colors so that the green apron will pop, so that it would be more eye-catching, more memorable. And so this is also why certain dress codes are put in place as well, to help the overall uniform, certain aspects of the uniform, stand out more. And this also applies during the holidays too. When you're allowed to wear the red apron, this of course allows the red to pop even more by having these sort of like muted, subdued colors. And this also relates to what I said earlier about Starbucks not wanting really loud or super exaggerated patterns, because those would be distracting. Like, a customer coming up to POS, for example, would maybe pay more attention to the pattern, the really loud pattern that your shirt is, as opposed to the green apron that you're wearing, which is what they want you to focus on. So this is kind of how dress codes can also help to accentuate certain parts of your uniform. Right, so now I believe we can move on to my last topic, which again is an open discussion. I highly encourage you to, if you're interested in this kind of discussion, to comment below and, let me know what you think about uniforms, and if you disagree with some of the opinions I'm about to state, or if you agree with any, or if you don't want to, state your opinion about my opinions, you can state your own opinion, whatever. Totally free reign. But I do encourage you to use your voice and, input your opinion if you'd like. So, the importance of uniforms. So, I definitely understand the importance of uniforms, again, in like a big retail store, for example, or, any sort of store or any sort of workplace where you're working face-to-face with customers very often. So basically like a retail or food service job. Totally understand the importance of uniforms, again, because it helps distinguish you from the customers. So customers can more easily identify, okay, this person can help me, as opposed to this person who's also a customer that can't help me. I definitely see the importance there. Now, do I necessarily feel that, for example, in a closed office space where you don't really interact with, clients in person, especially in the building, do I feel that uniforms, or more so dress codes in that example, are necessary? Not really. Again, I have never been in a role that takes place in a, sort of more traditional office setting, except for an internship that I did way back in high school. But yeah, I don't have much experience, but I don't imagine that it really has an impact on productivity necessarily. Again, I feel like uniforms and dress codes are more so important when you're interacting with customers very often because, again, you're easily distinguishable. Somebody can easily recognize you as, a worker, as an employee. But in an office, that, if they're in the office with you, you know that they're your coworkers. So I don't necessarily see the importance of uniforms or dress codes again, in sort of that type of workplace. Now, another thing that I wanted to touch on is that I also feel that if a certain job has a strict dress code or a strict uniform, that the business should provide you with the clothing that is a part of the dress code or the uniform. So, for example, at the restaurant I work at, I had to buy everything myself. So basically, the components of the dress code, so like the shirt, the pants, the shoes, I had to buy those myself. Which, for me, thankfully, is fine. I was able, I'm in a position where I am able to buy those necessary clothes for myself. But there are some people who aren't in that position. There are some people, who, they're just not in the financial position to do so. They're struggling as it is, and they don't need to spend, $50, $100 on clothes that they need to do their job. So, yeah, I feel like clothes that are a part of the dress code should be provided by the company, just like how a certain company provides aspects of the uniform. Like, for example, Starbucks provided the apron for us. Starbucks provided the hat for me in South Carolina. The restaurant provided us with the bow tie and the server apron. But again, everybody has different, everybody's in different positions financially, and some people literally can't afford that. It's either, for example, buying my uniform for this job that's going to help me pay my bills, or me, eating for the next week, for example. I just feel that if it is something that you are making the employees wear, that they need to wear so that they can do the job, then it should be provided to them. But again, that's just my opinion. I am also not a business owner. I also, this is coming from somebody who doesn't have to pay these expenses out of pocket as a business. Again, I just feel I'm viewing this from a more kind of moral viewpoint. But again, if you disagree, or if you agree, or if you have any other, sort of, opinions about uniforms or dress codes, please do let me know below, because I am very interested in what other people have to say about this topic. But yeah, so that is it for today's video. This is definitely the longest video that I have filmed in a minute. We're almost at 20 minutes. Catch my breath. So I hope that you guys are taking care. I hope that you're staying well. I hope that you are staying sane, safe, healthy, entertained, and motivated. If you are protesting, first of all, please stay super duper warm. Again, you can see that I'm filming inside this week, and I probably will be filming inside for the near future because it is way too chilly to be outside. So again, if you're protesting, please stay bundled up. It's very important, pardon me, to stay warm, of course. Also, if you're protesting, more importantly, make sure you are staying safe. Make sure you have an emergency contact on standby in case something happens. And yeah, just stay safe out there. Stay safe and stay warm. Yeah, so with that said, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that you learned something. I hope that this video maybe, encourages you to engage in some dialogue regarding uniforms at your own workplace, or, amongst your friends, with whomever. And yeah, that's it for me. I will see you guys next week, and I hope you take care. Bye-bye.